And then we are live. And then I click the record button for Zoom. Hi, everybody. This is Tiara International, and it's Friday. So we are coming to you live on Facebook. If you like seeing us live on Facebook, you can follow our Facebook page, Tiara International. We do also post these on our YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel there as well, Tiara International. We are a women's leadership development organization. We provide coaching, consulting, and also virtual programming for women everywhere so that we can all pause, reflect, and feel like we are the leaders in our lives and our work. That's what we do. I'm here today, Betsy Sobiech, one of the managing partners with Beth Ruske.
Hi there.
Or Elizabeth Ruske. I guess you go by Elizabeth professionally.
Yes, when I'm playing the role of Elizabeth Ruske, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I think you're the one of us that has like that you go between Elizabeth and Beth quite a bit, like it just is normal. But I know sometimes when I'm putting things like your email address or your official title, that it will hop between the two, like in your bio and everything like that, which is totally fine. But it's one of those things where I try to remember to introduce you as Elizabeth. Okay, so today we are talking about the topic.
Because that is so important.
I know, but we're just chatting, warming up. Something I don't know if it's something I notice because I do so much of the writing for the business. I don't know that it's something that you ever notice, that you're the one whose name changes all the time. So we are talking about we decided to talk about how we land for others, or how we come across to others as part of a leadership development conversation. And as we start talking about it, we're going to talk about why that's even important. I know for myself, I've kind of come from a background or a mindset of I should be true to myself and I shouldn't care so much about what other people think. Like I sometimes can tip over and care too much about what other people think. And then it feels like I'm not coming across authentically. So when we practice true leadership, I think there's an element of that, like who are you and how do you be true to yourself? Yet I know, Beth, that you work with a lot of people who are very cognizant about the industry they're in, the profession that they're part of, the career they're developing, and being completely oblivious to how you come across to other people is also not the wisest thing. So we're going to talk about how do you know how you land for others? How do you make sure it's in line with who you want to be and what you want to be known for as a leader and why it's important, but also how to balance that with what feels like being yourself authentically. So share a little bit more about like why this topic is important to you and what you see our clients facing time and time and again, which makes this something we should talk about.
Yeah. Betsy, I think I've had this conversation with, I'm going to say 90% of our coaching clients this week.
Wow.
So that's why it's hot on my mind. It's like, wow, there's something, and in male or female. So it's not just women. So I think it's really important. And I love what you're saying about, do I really need to care about this? And you do need to care about it, but you don't have to pretzel yourself to like be trying to be something you're not, or to make sure this person likes me, or, that's not what we're discussing here at all. But there are some people who are really clueless, like they have no idea, they just shut down the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Or that they are not approachable.
And they want to be approachable.
Sure. I don't know very many people in life who want to be walking around giving people the Heisman,
Well, I know some on the operation side of the business. I know some introverts who don't like to be interrupted. So there's some people who sort of cultivate I'm not that approachable sense, because that they do want that. But what you're talking about is in general, in your career, in a team player environment, like you want to be able to understand. But I'm also just throwing into this space, like you actually can choose. Is that a thing that you want to be or not want to be to a certain degree, as long as it doesn't conflict with your goals and what you want to be known for?
Absolutely true. And there are times, we all can give someone that face of not now, like seriously, like I'm in the middle of something. But it's best. The other thing about not knowing how you're landing is that people are interpreting you. and it might not be the way you want to be interpreted. So there's a level of how do I still be me but be transparent? That is probably the way you bring both ends of the spectrum together, is to
Well, but at the same time, we can't control how other people interpret us because that's so much based on their filter.
Right.
So no matter what we do, there may be someone misinterpreting what we do.
Absolutely true. But if we're transparent about it and we're not leaving any doubt, for example, if I was really short with you and I saw you recoil, if I didn't even understand that, I have no clue that you just checked out of our conversation. But if I saw you recoil, I could say, oh, wait a minute, I might have said that a little strong. Let me back up here. That's not what I meant. Here's what I'm trying to get across. Mm-hmm. This actually happened in a conversation you and our other partner, Peg, and I had yesterday. I know I said something without any of the niceties on the beginning or the end. And it just came across like a flat statement. And there was silence afterwards. And I realized that I had those other piece conversations in my head. I didn't say them out loud. So I had to backtrack just a little bit to say, hey, just to be clear, you understand where I'm coming from on this. So that additional level of transparency, and I'm not saying about explain everything, God help us, but you have to make sure because you don't know my intention. You don't have the purview of knowing what I meant, where I'm coming from, what I'm dealing with, where I see, like all that's hidden behind the curtain. And if all you see is that one transaction, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's not the whole equation.
Right.
Can I mix any more metaphors in there? I think I did a pretty good job of getting about 8 in there.
Pretty good. Yeah. So I feel like part of this starts with being clear on what's important to you or how you do want to come across. So, for example, I do want to my style of leading is to listen and include lots of points of view, I think.
Okay.
I don't know that other people think that or not, to your point. So it could be something I could check with other people. Yet, like if I were going into a project, I know I find myself saying lots of times, like, okay, so the approach for this project is to hear everyone's point of view, what everyone's priorities are, to make sure we understand the same outcome that we all want. And then I'll even do a thing and then I'll take that and go and put the puzzle pieces together and come back and see if it feels like it, honors all the points of view and moves us forward. So I will say this is kind of what I'm going to do. And then hopefully do that. And then people have that experience of me because it's something I feel like it's a talent, but it's also something that I want to be known for is listening and including points of view.
And when you do that, Betsy, and by the way, you do that, when you do that, you actually are, you're letting people know what the game is. You're letting them know the process and the rules and how they're going to be engaged with. And so they're not left to wonder. So you bring a level of clarity. That's the transparency you're bringing into that from the very beginning. And if, for example, somebody doesn't like that, you also say, is there another approach? I've heard you do this. Is there something else you want to add to this? Is there another way that you think would be more useful? So you're open.
And I also think, though, that it can be a differentiator. Like in our work, if a consultative engagement comes along and they're wanting an expert to go in a box, design an expert solution, and come back and deliver it to them, that wouldn't be me because it's not what I do. So even if you think about internally with the team, if someone said, okay, my style is going to be more directive, there could be teams where that is appropriate and it could be someone's strength to be more directive and they could wear that on their sleeve and lead their team that way. And then people would know that that's like what it is that they were wanting to be known for. There's someone else who could be known for being, I don't know, anything. But I guess the thing is it starts with what is it you want to be known for? What are your talents? What are your strengths? And then are you incorporating that in how you share about what you're doing so that people can connect those dots? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And also it's inside of a bigger context too. It's inside of what is the end game? For me, it's about producing results. I'm about an outcome. And we counsel our teams that we work with and our individual coaching clients to make sure that you're clear about it. Like an outcome where you've, run over every relationship is not really going to serve you well long term. If you've taken care of every relationship but haven't produced the outcome, that also doesn't work. So you really do have that balance of the building relationships and producing results. Knowing how you land is a key metric modulator for making sure that you're balancing both of those.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about producing results. It is about outcomes. We don't just do things just to do things. I mean, I don't know very many people in business who do, but or in life actually. But knowing that and knowing, oh, how I come across allows me to keep both of those things in tandem, moving forward. That's kind of important.
Yeah, I like that reminder that it's both a relationship aspect and a results aspect. And I'm also thinking two things. Like one is that you could have a talent or strength, and there could be a way that it comes across as a strength for a team or for your career, and could be a way that you don't know it's coming across negative. Like, so say if you're someone who has a really good sense of humor, you could be known for always lightening the mood, fun to have on a team, a great person to have as part of any project. Or you could be known as the class clown and a distraction and someone who doesn't take their work seriously. So your talent is the same. Yeah, in terms of what your career goals are and what you want to be invited to do, how is that landing for people? And is it something that is moving you toward the outcome you want for your career and the reputation you're building, or is it somehow getting in the way? Because anybody can be known for anything, being quirky, being introspective, being creative, whatever. But you also could be known for not speaking up, or for always doing the admin work, or for being checked out. And maybe you're not checked out. Maybe you're just like processing. Right. So again, it's like, what is that perception? And if you know it, then you can course correct either in your own career, because maybe you're not in the right role, or you can connect the dots of like what's really happening.
And your question when we started about, well, do I have to really care about what other people think? I think it's yes and no. I mean, you want to be aware of it, but it is their choice on what they, if someone thinks I'm a jackass and I really haven't been one, not much I can do about that. But to your point, if you're not aware of how you land, then it's kind of accidental.
Right.
Like, so you want to have a level of intentionality. If I know I haven't been a jerk in the exchange and someone's treating me kind of, aggressively or defensively, that's something for me to be aware of and just call out in the space so we can talk about it. Like, hey, wait a minute, what's happening? Did you just misinterpret what I said? Right. Because if I don't do that, it is unlikely that this person is actually going to come along with what we're trying to accomplish.
Right. So if you're not aware and you're not consciously connecting those dots for people about who you are, what you stand for, and what you're doing, you're letting other people tell your story. You're letting other people create that for you. And it may not be really what's happening behind the scenes. And I think the even worse scenario is when you actually think you're doing one thing, but it's been collectively misinterpreted as another thing. And then people start talking about it, but you didn't have any idea. Like, even if you go back to my example, there have been times that in meetings or sessions or things like that, when I have found out that the interpretation is that I don't have my own ideas, or I'm not a strong leader, or I don't have an opinion, because what I'm doing is like asking questions and doing the thing that I do, right? Well, that's not true, and that's not what I wanted to come across, and that's not the intention behind that. But if that starts to be the story out there that people are creating, and it's exact opposite of what I think I'm doing, it is our job to like find that out and say, oh no, here's like what my style is, here's what I'm doing, in order to grow in this role or grow in this company. Is there a way that I can bridge that gap for people or something like that? But again, all in the context of not being something you're not, and not just trying to be perfect and not trying to please all people. Because you're in a room of like half a dozen people, they're all going to have different interpretations. They're all going to have their own thing of what's happening. And if you try to like manage all these different people's perceptions, you're going to end up feeling nauseous and anxious and exhausted.
No, that's where you got to be true to yourself. But this isn't just a business skill. This isn't just a leadership skill. This is a life skill. Like every one of your relationships is fraught with, interpretation, and
Right.
and so it doesn't matter. I mean, you could be sitting in a church pew, and someone could be interpreting something you're doing or saying, it's like, so it's everywhere. And
Right. Like if the whole thing about, oh, I never invite you to anything because you're too busy, or oh, you really love kids, or oh, you never make time for XYZ. Like whatever the things are, there can be like a little thing that starts to be told about you. So to be clear about like, well, this is who I am. It's what I want to be known for. It's what I want my friends and family to count on me for. It's what I want my business colleagues to count on me for. Like it kind of it just connects the dots in terms of what you think you're doing and what you want to be known for with what's happening. There still may be a disconnect, like say you're in a position and there are things that you really want to be known for, and then it doesn't fit with what the company culture is looking for, whether you're more direct or you're I don't know. I mean, there could be and so it's not about pretzeling yourself into something that's not right for you, but it's also not just being oblivious to the fact that you have an impact on other people. You
right.
have an influence. People are perceiving you. And are you part of creating that story or not?
Yeah, and it's your story to tell. Don't let anyone else tell your story or
Right.
interpret your story for you. It's like, I want to be my own press person.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it. Hey, but there's something you said a little earlier
Yeah.
about the strengths. Like these might be the strengths, and then they're kind of seen in a not positive light. It is very common that can happen. When you have a strength and it's an over strength, or it's coming on with too much, without a degree of modulation. That can be really challenging because then you're actually being dismissed for the very thing is your strength. So that's another reason why the modulation is so important and the awareness is so important, because I'm not going to not be me. I'm going to always be me, but how much of me might be the question, right? I do think funny thoughts, and a lot of people think that I don't have a filter sometimes. And my goodness, if you knew how many things I actually was filtering, it might be scary, but it's kind of like you have to, I think you have to have some modulation. And I think it's personal responsibility to do so.
Well, modulation can go either way. Like someone who's a little more introverted or quiet, yet wants to be seen as a team player, might have to modulate up in some
Mhm.
scenarios. Someone who just has like idea, they're very extroverted, they think out loud, they might have to modulate down in a couple scenarios to not feel like they're always taking up too much space or whatever for others. So it kind of goes from situation to situation and again, aligned with what you want. But I think the main thing is we really do practice awareness, and the awareness is your inner awareness of what is important to me, what are my talents and strengths, what do I want to be known for in the world, what feels like it's an integrity with who I am I bringing that, and then awareness of others, so individually with people when I'm with them, what's going on and does everything feel like it's lined up, and then awareness of the broader system, so whether it's a company, whether it's a family, whether it's a community. And again, you don't have to fit into anything. You can definitely stand out, for sure, but it's just the awareness and the choice is what we always circle back to. Like, are you aware? And is it what you would choose? And is it lining up with where you are and where you want to go? And if so, great. You know, be whatever it is that you want to be, but just don't be unaware or give away your power to someone else who may be misinterpreting what's happening.
Right. Yep, I agree. And I think the other thing would be for people to recognize that when you have that level of clarity about yourself and you can be okay with yourself, that's a really attractive thing.
Yeah.
It's not arrogant. It is not overconfident. It's not humble. It's just being okay with who you are. And that's really attractive. And so if you're in a leadership position, that's a great way for people to want to follow you. to want to work with you because they know who you are and they know how you're going to show up and you're consistent.
Yeah, that's true. Consistency and trust go
Yeah.
hand in hand. I mean, we can definitely trust people who are consistently unpredictable. Like we know that that's kind of their MO and they don't mean anything by it. Yet I think in the leadership space that we've found that when someone can be consistent over time, that's when people feel safe and trusting. Even if they disagree, it builds respect and it builds a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It also gives you a little bit more credits in the bank so that if you do misstep, you're not, people aren't misjudging you because they have had experiences where, they knew your intention and you were consistent.
Yeah. So one thing we do, I will just leave this with a practice because we always want to bridge the gap between what we think is happening and what other people think is happening in the practical sense. So we often have our clients do a thing where they do quick informational interviews or peer feedback interviews, and they can be as long as 30 minutes with a list of half a dozen questions. But at the very core, even if it's just a 10-minute thing with people kind of informally, if you ask someone, what do you count on me for? What don't you count on me for? Those two questions, you'll get a mirror held up of like, I always count on you for XYZ. I never count on you for ABC. And you can add the third of what do you wish you could count on me more for? And then you have an idea of what they're longing or wishing they could see from you. So, what do you count on me for? What do you never count on me for? And what do you wish you could count on me more for? Is a great way to start to get that mirror reflected.
I love this exercise. Matter of fact, that was something that we have a lot of our clients doing this week. And the caution I would have for anyone who's listening to this is that is somebody's opinion. So it doesn't make it so. It doesn't make it right. And you don't have to do what they're recommending or saying, but you ask the question. So hear it out and be curious about what that would look like or why that's important to them. But then you get to choose whether it's valid.
And you might hear like, oh, I totally am counted for on the things that I want to. I'm not counted on for the things that I don't want to. And everyone's content. Or you might hear some things where it's like, ooh, that's at least something to think about. It's not like it's a truth, like what you're saying, but that it's just something to consider around, does it line up with what you are intending?
Yeah.
Or not?
Awesome.
Great. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day. And thank you everybody for tuning in, either live or the recordings. You can find out more about our business at tiaraleadership.com. You can join our virtual programming at tiararesourcecircle.com and like our Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube channel to get more of these live updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.